Olivia Bennett tucked a strand of brown hair behind her ear as she mopped the glossy floor of the Galactic Cultural Center. The massive building stood as Earth's proudest achievement since joining the Galactic Federation 15 years ago in 1974. Most days she worked in peaceful solitude, cleaning after hours when the important people had gone home. Today was different. "Don't forget the East Wing, Olivia," called her supervisor Sam Miller. "The aliens are coming tomorrow for that big music thing." Olivia nodded without looking up. "I'll get it all done, Mr. Miller." As Sam walked away, Olivia allowed herself a small smile. The big music thing was actually the Centennial Galactic Concert, the most prestigious musical event in the known universe. Musicians from 27 different planets would gather to perform and be evaluated by Master Zixavorn, the legendary Arcturian composer whose works were studied across the galaxy. Not that anyone expected her to know this. To them, she was just the woman who cleaned the floors and emptied the trash. They didn't know about the hours she spent at the old piano in the community center, or the compositions she kept hidden in her small apartment. When her shift ended at midnight, Olivia made her final round through the administrative offices. A light still glowed under the door of Dr. Patel, the center's overworked events coordinator. Olivia knocked softly. "Come in," called a tired voice. Dr. Patel sat surrounded by stacks of papers and holographic displays. "Oh, Olivia. Sorry about the mess." "No problem, Dr. Patel. Do you want me to come back later?" The woman shook her head. "No need. I'm just sorting through these invitations. The courier delivered them to the wrong department, and now I have to figure out where they belong before tomorrow." Olivia began emptying the trash bins. As she worked, Dr. Patel muttered to herself, sorting envelopes into piles. "This makes no sense," she said suddenly. "Why would they send an invitation to the custodial department?" Olivia froze. "An invitation?" Dr. Patel held up an envelope made of shimmering blue material. "It's addressed to Earth Representative Maintenance Division. Must be a mistake." A strange feeling washed over Olivia. "Can I see it?" With a shrug, Dr. Patel handed her the envelope. "Might as well. I have enough real invitations to worry about." The material felt cool against Olivia's fingers. When she turned it over, the seal broke on its own, releasing a soft chime. Inside was a card written in Standard Galactic, with Earth English below. "Your presence is requested at the Centennial Galactic Concert. Earth representatives from all divisions are welcome to observe the performances and cultural exchange. Olivia." Read it twice. It says all divisions. That includes maintenance. Dr. Patel looked surprised. "Really? I thought this was just for the cultural attachés and musicians." She rubbed her tired eyes. "Well, the more humans in attendance, the better, I suppose. We're still trying to make a good impression on the Federation." "So, I could go?" Olivia asked, barely hiding her excitement. "If you want to sit through hours of alien music, be my guest. Just don't expect to be noticed. Humans are barely tolerated at these events, especially when it comes to music." Dr. Patel sighed. "According to most species, we're hopelessly primitive in our understanding of true musical theory." Olivia carefully placed the invitation in her pocket. "Thank you, Dr. Patel." The next morning, Olivia arrived early for her shift. Her friend and co-worker Frank Daniels was already there, loading cleaning supplies onto his cart. "You look tired," he said, noticing the shadows under her eyes. "Didn't sleep much," she admitted. She'd stayed up late, reworking a composition she'd been developing for years. Not that it mattered. She would only be observing tomorrow, not performing. Frank leaned against his cart. "Heard about the big concert tomorrow? Whole place is buzzing about it." Olivia nodded. "Actually, I got an invitation." Frank's eyebrows shot up. "You're kidding. How?" She showed him the shimmering blue card. "It came to our department by mistake, but Dr. Patel said I could go." "Lucky you," Frank said with a whistle. "Chance to see actual aliens up close. My kids would be so jealous." He paused. "Wait, do you even like music?" Olivia turned away, hiding her expression. I don't mind it. In truth, music had been her refuge since childhood. After her parents died, she'd been raised by her grandmother, who had taught piano at a local school before arthritis claimed her ability to play. Under her grandmother's guidance, Olivia had learned not just Earth's musical traditions, but had developed her own theories about the mathematical patterns underlying all music. But she'd never performed for anyone. Her grandmother had been her only audience, and after she passed, Olivia played only for herself. Well, enjoy the show, Frank said. Though I heard these alien musicians are pretty stuck up. Especially that main one. What's his name? Master Zix Vorn, Olivia said automatically. Frank gave her a curious look. Yeah, him. Supposedly, he thinks humans are musical idiots. Said something about how we can't even grasp basic five-dimensional harmonics, whatever that means. Later that day, as Olivia cleaned the massive performance hall, she paused to admire the grand piano that had been placed center stage. It was a beautiful instrument, brought specifically for the event even though none of the alien species had the right anatomy to play it properly. It was more of a symbolic gesture, Earth's contribution to the galactic gathering. She glanced around to make sure she was alone, then quickly sat on the bench. She didn't touch the keys, but her fingers hovered above them, feeling their pull. "What are you doing?" came a sharp voice. Olivia jumped up. A stern-looking woman in an official Earth government uniform stood watching her. "I'm sorry," Olivia said, backing away from the piano. "I was just cleaning around it." The woman's expression softened slightly. "Be careful with that. It's on loan from the New York Philharmonic." She introduced herself as Dr. Eleanor Wright, Earth's representative cultural attaché. "I'm Olivia Bennett, custodial staff." Dr. Wright nodded absently, already turning her attention to a holographic display on her wrist. "The Arcturian delegation arrives in 3 hours. Make sure everything is spotless." As Dr. Wright walked away, a news alert appeared on the large screen at the back of the hall. The reporter stood outside a sleek spacecraft that had just landed at the spaceport. "Master Zix Vorn has arrived early for tomorrow's Centennial Galactic concert," the reporter announced. When asked about his expectations for Earth's contributions to the event, the Arcturian composer had this to say. The image shifted to an alien figure with iridescent blue skin, 8 eyes arranged in a circle around its head, and delicate antennae that swayed as it spoke. Its words were translated in a mechanical voice. "I come with an open mind, though. I expect little. These humans have barely discovered basic warp technology. Their understanding of musical theory is equally primitive. Still, it is our duty as advanced species to encourage cultural development, even on backwater planets such as this." Olivia's hands clenched into fists. She looked at the piano, then back at the screen where the Arcturian continued to speak condescendingly about human musical abilities. Tomorrow she would be just another observer in the back row, unnoticed and unheard as always. But for the first time in her life, Olivia Bennett wondered if it was time for that to change. The grand hall of the Galactic Cultural Center buzzed with excitement. Beings from 27 different worlds filled the space, their various body shapes, sizes, and colors creating a living rainbow. Some floated above the ground, others moved on multiple legs, and a few appeared as nothing more than shifting patterns of light. Olivia Bennett stood in the back corner, clutching her blue invitation card. Her simple blue dress, passed down from her grandmother, felt painfully plain next to the elaborate outfits of the other attendees. She had spent her entire savings to have the dress cleaned and pressed for this occasion. "You actually came," said a surprised voice beside her. Dr. Eleanor Wright, the cultural attaché, looked Olivia up and down. "I didn't expect to see maintenance staff here." "The invitation said all Earth divisions were welcome," Olivia replied quietly. Dr. Wright nodded. "Yes, well, just stay in the back and try not to draw attention. The Arcturians are extremely sensitive to what they call harmonic disruptions. That means human talking mostly." As Dr. Wright walked away to greet a group of tall, silver-skinned beings, Olivia slipped into a seat in the last row. From here, she could see the entire stage and the grand piano sitting in the spotlight. Her fingers tingled with the memory of keys beneath them. A soft chime rang through the hall and the audience fell silent. A human announcer stepped forward, her voice shaking slightly. "Welcome, honored guests, to the Centennial Galactic Concert. Earth is proud to host representatives from across the Federation. Today we celebrate the universal language of music." Scattered clicking sounds came from various parts of the audience, the Arcturian equivalent of polite laughter. Clearly, they found the idea of music as a universal language amusing. The announcer continued, "Our first performers are the renowned Valaxian Harmonic Collective." 3 floating orbs of pulsating green light moved onto the stage. They positioned themselves around a strange instrument that looked like a glass harp crossed with a quantum computer. As they began to play, Olivia leaned forward in her seat. The music was like nothing she had ever heard, and yet somehow familiar. It followed mathematical progressions she had explored in her own compositions, but taken to levels she had only imagined possible. The notes seemed to exist in more dimensions than should be possible, creating patterns that were both heard and somehow felt in the bones. When they finished, the alien audience erupted in a cacophony of appreciation, clicks, whistles, vibrations, and light pulses. The human attendees applauded politely, though many looked confused. Next came a Medusan composer, a jellyfish-like being who created music directly through telepathic projection. Olivia felt the music form inside her mind, beautiful and terrifying at once. Tears streamed down her face, though she couldn't have explained why. As each alien musician performed, Olivia took mental notes. She recognized patterns in their music, mathematical, sequences, cosmic ratios, and emotional resonances that crossed species barriers. In some ways, it was exactly what she had been working toward in her own compositions, but had never been able to fully realize. During a brief intermission, Olivia overheard 2 Rigelian musicians speaking through their translators. "The humans seem overawed," one said, its 6 fingers constantly moving in what appeared to be small practice exercises. "As they should be," replied the other. "Their musical development is still at a primitive stage. They rely almost entirely on physical instruments with limited range." "I heard they still use rhythmic patterns comprehensible to their own biology," the first one said, making a sound that the translator didn't convert, presumably laughter. Olivia's cheeks burned, but she kept her expression neutral. The Rigelians hadn't even noticed her standing nearby. The second half of the concert began with the Rigelian Quartet demonstrating their famous 1,000-finger technique on a liquid metal instrument. Then came performers from Deneb, Tau Ceti, and other worlds Olivia had only read about. Finally, it was time for the main event. Master Zixvorn himself glided onto the stage, his blue skin shimmering under the lights, all 8 eyes blinking in sequence. Rather than perform, he began to speak, his words translated for the human audience. "Music is mathematics, physics, and biology combined into art," he said. "For a species to truly understand music, they must first understand the fundamental structures of reality." He gestured to the human section of the audience with a dismissive wave of his 4-fingered hand. "Our hosts today are young in their development. We should not expect them to comprehend true musical theory when they have only recently mastered atomic energy and basic space travel. Their instruments," he pointed to the grand piano, "are crude approximations limited by their own biological constraints." Dr. Wright shifted uncomfortably in her seat as various alien species made sounds of agreement. Master Zixvorn continued, "Nevertheless, we shall evaluate any who wish to perform, as is our tradition. Are there any Earth musicians who have prepared a piece?" Dr. Wright stood quickly. "Master Zixvorn, we understood this event to be a showcase of Federation musical achievements, not a competition. Earth's most accomplished musicians are currently attending a symposium on galactic musical theory to better understand Federation standards." This was a polite lie. Olivia knew that Earth's greatest pianists and composers had been invited, but had declined, unwilling to be humiliated on a galactic stage. "A pity," said Master Zixvorn, not sounding disappointed at all. "Perhaps at the next centennial event humans will be ready to participate more substantially." More clicking laughter rippled through the audience. Now, as is my privilege, I will demonstrate a new composition that explores ninth-dimensional harmonics. What followed was both beautiful and incomprehensible. The Arcturian produced sounds from a crystalline structure that seemed to bend light as well as sound. The music made Olivia's head hurt even as she recognized its genius. When it ended, the alien audience exploded in appreciation. The humans clapped uncertainly, many looking relieved that the concert appeared to be concluding. Master Zixvorn bowed, his upper body in the universal gesture of acknowledgement. We will take a brief recess before final evaluations and closing ceremonies. The audience began to disperse toward the reception area. Olivia remained seated, her eyes fixed on the grand piano that had sat untouched throughout the entire concert. During the break, she watched as cleaning staff, her colleagues, began preparing to tidy the reception area. Soon they would come to the main hall. The piano would be covered and eventually returned to New York, never having been played at this historic event. Olivia glanced around. The hall had nearly emptied. Dr. Wright and the other human officials were busy in the reception area, desperately, trying to make conversation with uninterested alien guests. Master Zixvorn stood surrounded by admirers, his antennae waving gracefully as he accepted their praise. No one was watching the piano. No one was watching her. Olivia took a deep breath and stood up. Her heart pounded so hard she could feel it, in her throat. What she was considering would likely cost her job. She might even be banned from the center permanently. But something inside her couldn't bear to let this moment pass. All her life she had hidden her music, played only in empty rooms when no one could hear. She walked slowly down the aisle toward the stage, her simple blue dress a stark contrast to the gleaming technology around her. As she approached the piano, she heard her grandmother's voice in her mind. Music speaks when words cannot. With trembling hands, Olivia lifted the cover from the keys and sat down on the bench. For a moment, she simply stared at the black and white pattern before her, as familiar as her own face. Then she began to play. The first notes from Olivia's fingers were soft and hesitant, almost a whisper against the vast silence of the hall. She began with a simple melody, one that her grandmother had taught her long ago. Her hands moved with practiced grace, muscle, memory taking over as her nervousness began to fade. But then, something changed. The simple earth melody transformed, incorporating elements of what she had just heard from the alien musicians. Without fully understanding how, she wove in mathematical patterns similar to the Valaxian harmonic sequences, added emotional depths inspired by the Medusan telepathic projections, and created rhythms that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions. At once, Olivia closed her eyes, lost in her own creation. The music flowed through her, a perfect bridge between human emotion and the cosmic mathematics that the aliens valued so highly. It was as if her entire life had been leading to this moment, this fusion of everything she had ever learned or felt about music. In the reception area, Master Zixvorn was explaining a complex harmonic theory to a group of admiring aliens when his antennae suddenly stiffened. He stopped mid-sentence, all 8 eyes widening as they blinked in rapid sequence. "What is that sound?" he asked, his translator failing to convey the mixture of shock and confusion in his native tone. The other aliens fell silent, also becoming aware of the music drifting from the main hall. It was unlike anything they had heard before, clearly played on the primitive human instrument, yet somehow incorporating advanced musical concepts that humans weren't supposed to understand. Master Zixvorn moved quickly toward the hall, his hovering motion more rapid than usual. Other aliens followed, curiosity overcoming their usual restraint. Dr. Wright and several human officials exchanged worried glances before hurrying after them. On stage, Olivia remained unaware of her growing audience. Her composition had reached its middle section, where she was now combining Earth's traditional musical scales with the ninth-dimensional harmonics she had observed in Master Zixvorn's demonstration. Though she couldn't produce the actual sounds he had made, she could suggest them through clever use of the piano's capabilities, creating echoes and impressions that hinted at those higher dimensions. Frank Daniels had just arrived for his evening. cleaning shift when he heard the music. He recognized the tune from somewhere but couldn't place it. Following the sound, he entered the main hall and froze in shock when he saw his co-worker on stage. "Olivia?" he whispered, but she couldn't hear him. No one could hear anything except the extraordinary music filling the space. Master Zixvorn stood at the entrance to the hall, his blue skin changing colors rapidly, shifting through purples and golds in what the humans present didn't realize was the Arcturian physiological response to extreme emotion. His antennae were now fully extended, quivering with each new measure of the music. The Valaxian performers had moved closer to the stage, their green light pulsating in time with Olivia's playing. The Medusan composer seemed to be in some kind of trance, its tentacles waving slowly as if conducting an invisible orchestra. Dr. Wright pushed her way through the growing crowd, intending to stop what she assumed was an embarrassing intrusion. But when she reached the front and saw Olivia, the janitor she had dismissed earlier, playing with a skill that had even the aliens entranced, she stopped and simply listened. The composition built toward its climax. Olivia had incorporated elements from every performance she had heard that day, transforming them into something new. Her fingers flew across the keys with increasing confidence, drawing sounds from the piano that seemed impossible. In the final section, she took the music beyond mere imitation of alien techniques. She added something uniquely human, a deep emotional core that spoke of loneliness, hope, perseverance, and finally, joy. It was Earth's contribution to the galactic musical conversation, not as a primitive attempt to copy advanced species, but as a different and equally valid approach to understanding the universal language of music. As Olivia played the final notes, the sound lingered in the air, seeming to echo in dimensions beyond normal human hearing. Then silence. Complete silence. She opened her eyes, the spell broken, and gasped. The hall was no longer empty. Hundreds of beings stood watching her, humans and aliens alike, all completely still. Master Zixvorn was directly in front of the stage, his color now a deep gold that glowed faintly in the dim light. Olivia's hands fell to her lap. What had she done? She had surely broken a dozen rules by touching the piano, let alone playing it without permission during such a prestigious event. She searched the crowd for Dr. Wright, expecting anger or embarrassment on the woman's face. Instead, the cultural attaché looked stunned, her mouth slightly open in surprise. The silence stretched for several more seconds. Then Master Zixvorn moved forward, his hovering form ascending to the stage. Olivia stood quickly, backing away from the piano. "I apologize for the interruption," she said, her voice small in the large space. "I shouldn't have—" "Who taught you our mathematical harmonic progression?" Master Zixvorn demanded, his translator struggling to keep up with his rapid speech. "How did you incorporate ninth-dimensional theory into your composition?" Olivia blinked in confusion. "No one taught me. I developed it myself." "Impossible," clicked one of the Rigelian musicians from the crowd. "Humans cannot comprehend multi-dimensional harmonics." "I studied astronomy and physics," Olivia explained, gaining courage as she spoke about her passion. "I noticed patterns in the movement of stars and planets that matched patterns in music. I've been working on translating those cosmic mathematics into piano compositions for years." Master Zixvorn's antennae twitched with interest. "You derived musical theory from astronomical observation, without formal training?" "Yes," Olivia said simply. "Music is math, physics, and emotion combined. That's what my grandmother taught me." The Arcturian composer turned to face the audience, addressing them in his native language. The translation came through the hall's speakers. "What we have witnessed is unprecedented. This human has independently developed an understanding of galactic musical principles that most species require centuries of evolution to grasp." He turned back to Olivia. "You played what theorists have long considered impossible, a bridge between emotional expression and mathematical precision." Dr. Wright stepped forward. "Master Zixvorn, this is Olivia Bennett. She works in our maintenance department." "A maintenance worker?" The Valaxian lights pulsed in what might have been surprise. Not a trained musician? I've never had formal training, Olivia admitted, but I've been playing and composing since I was a child. Master Zixvorn's eyes blinked in sequence, an expression of deep thought. What was this composition called? Olivia hesitated. She had never named her pieces before, as no one had ever heard them. But now, looking at the gathered beings from across the galaxy, she knew exactly what to call it. First Contact, she said. Frank pushed his way to the front of the crowd, still holding his cleaning supplies. Olivia, you never told me you could play like that, he called out. She gave him a small smile. You never asked. Master Zixvorn made a series of clicking sounds that the translator didn't convert. Then he addressed the audience again. I must revise my earlier statements regarding human musical development. It appears we have much to learn from each other. His upper body bent in a bow directed at Olivia. Would you consent to having your composition recorded for the Galactic Archives? Of cultural achievement, the crowd murmured in surprise. No human creation had ever been deemed worthy of the archives before. Olivia nodded, too overwhelmed to speak. Dr. Wright stepped onto the stage, her diplomatic training taking over despite her shock. This unexpected performance has demonstrated that music truly is the universal language we claimed it to be, she said smoothly. Earth looks forward to further cultural exchanges with all Federation members. As the aliens began discussing among themselves, Olivia stood quietly on the stage, hardly believing what had just happened. After years of playing in empty rooms, her music had finally been heard, not just by other humans but by beings from across the galaxy, and they had understood it. The next morning, Olivia arrived at the Galactic Cultural Center with her cleaning cart as usual, but everything had changed. Security guards nodded respectfully as she passed. Staff members who had never noticed her before stopped to stare. Word had spread quickly about the janitor who had stunned the galaxy's greatest musical minds. There she is, someone whispered, as Olivia pushed her cart down the hallway. She kept her eyes down, uncomfortable with the attention. Last night had felt like a dream, and part of her had expected to return to her normal, invisible life today. Ms. Bennett, Dr. Wright called, hurrying toward her with a tablet in hand. We've been trying to reach you. Olivia stopped her cart. I'm sorry. My communication device is old and sometimes misses messages. Dr. Wright waved this away. Never mind that now. Do you have any idea what's happening? Your performance has become the most discussed event in Federation circles overnight. She held up her tablet, showing Olivia a news feed with headlines in multiple languages. The translations scrolled beneath each one. Human musical theory challenges galactic understanding. Arcturian master composer extends Earth visit indefinitely. The janitor who changed interspecies cultural exchange. Olivia's mouth fell open. I don't understand, it was just a piano piece. It was far more than that, came a familiar clicking voice. Master Zixvorn approached, his blue skin now a calm shade of violet. Behind him floated several other aliens, including two of the Valaxian light beings and a Rigelian musician. You have caused quite a disturbance in galactic musical circles, Olivia Bennett, the Arcturian said, his antennae twitching with what she now recognized as excitement. I have analyzed the recording of your performance 14 times. Your approach to dimensional harmonic theory is unconventional, but undeniably effective. Olivia glanced at her cleaning cart, then back at the assembled aliens. I should probably get back to work. That won't be necessary, Dr. Wright said quickly. Your supervisor has been informed that your services are needed elsewhere today. The Rigelian stepped forward, its six-fingered hands moving in complex patterns as it spoke. We wish to understand how you conceived of the transitional passages in your composition. They should not have been possible on a three-dimensional instrument. Before Olivia could answer, the Valaxians pulsed with light in patterns that the translator converted. Your use of silence between notes created phantom harmonics that suggested higher dimensional awareness. How did you achieve this without specialized training? More aliens joined the group, all asking technical questions about her music. Olivia looked helplessly at Dr. Wright. The cultural attaché cleared her throat loudly. Perhaps we should continue this discussion in the conference room rather than the hallway. As they walked, Frank appeared from around a corner with his own cleaning cart. His eyes widened when he saw Olivia surrounded by important people. "Olivia, everyone's talking about you," he called out. She gave him a nervous smile. "I'll explain later." In the conference room, Olivia found herself seated at the head of a large table, with aliens and human officials arranged around her. It was surreal. Yesterday they had barely noticed her existence, and today they were waiting for her to speak. Master Zixuvorn projected a holographic analysis of her composition into the center of the table. Complex mathematical formulas floated in the air, connected to snippets of her music. "You have accidentally discovered something our theorists have been seeking for centuries," he explained. "The perfect integration of emotional resonance with mathematical precision." "I didn't think of it as math," Olivia said softly. "I just played what felt right." "That's exactly the point," said one of the human scientists who had joined them. "You bridged the gap between intuition and calculation. The aliens approach music as advanced mathematics, while humans typically approach it as emotional expression. You did both simultaneously." Dr. Wright leaned forward. "Ms. Bennett, the Federation Cultural Exchange Committee has made an unprecedented request. They want you to lead the development of a new form of interspecies musical collaboration." Olivia blinked. "Me? But I'm just a musical genius who has been cleaning floors," Master Zixvorn interrupted. "Your status as a maintenance worker is irrelevant to your abilities." One of the Valaxians pulsed. "We propose the formation of the first interspecies orchestra, with you as the central composer and performer." "But I have no formal training," Olivia protested. "That may be your advantage," Master Zixuvorn replied. "You are not limited by conventional thinking. You hear patterns that others miss because they are too focused on established theories." A tall, elegant woman in an Earth government uniform stepped forward. Olivia recognized her as the Global Minister of Cultural Affairs, someone whose image she had seen on news screens but never expected to meet. "Ms. Bennett, I've been authorized to offer you a new position," the minister said. "Earth needs you as our musical ambassador to the Federation. Your salary would be—" She named a figure that made Olivia gasp. "I don't know what to say." Olivia whispered. "Say yes," Dr. Wright urged. "This is the greatest opportunity for human advancement in the Federation since our admission 15 years ago." Olivia looked around the table at the expectant faces, human and alien alike. Her whole life had been spent in the background, unnoticed and unheard. Now, suddenly, everyone was listening. "Could I have some time to think about it?" she asked. "ECU." Minister nodded. "Of course, but we'll need your answer within 48 hours. The Federation Council meets then to approve the new cultural initiative." As the meeting broke up, Olivia slipped away and found herself walking toward the performance hall. It was empty now, the grand piano still on stage where she had left it last night. She sat on the bench and placed her hands on the keys without pressing them. For so many years, music had been her private sanctuary. Could she really share it with the entire galaxy? "There you are," came Frank's voice from the doorway. He walked down the aisle toward the stage. "The whole building's looking for you. I just needed a moment to think," Olivia said. Frank sat beside her on the bench. "So my friend the janitor is actually a musical genius who's revolutionizing interspecies relations. You kept that pretty quiet." She smiled slightly. "I never thought anyone would want to hear my music." "Well, now everyone does." He looked at her seriously. "You know you have to take this opportunity, right? You can't go back to cleaning floors after this." "I'm scared, Frank," she admitted. "What if I can't live up to their expectations? What if last night was just a fluke?" In answer, he gestured to the piano. "Play something. Just a little piece. For your friend." Olivia hesitated, then began to play a simple melody. It was one of the first pieces she had ever composed, a gentle tune that reminded her of her grandmother. As she played, the door at the back of the hall opened. Master Zixvorn entered, followed by several other aliens and Dr. Wright. They stood silently, listening. When Olivia finished, she looked up to find the Arcturian composer had moved closer to the stage. "Even your simplest compositions contain the seeds of this new theory," he said. "It is not a fluke, Olivia Bennett, it is a gift, one that both humans and aliens need to explore together." Dr. Wright stepped forward. "Have you made your decision?" Olivia took a deep breath and nodded. "Yes, I'll do it." As the words left her mouth, she realized that her life would never be the same. The woman who had been invisible for so long was about to become the face of humanity to the stars, all because she had finally found the courage to let her music be heard. And somewhere, she was sure her grandmother was smiling. 6 months had passed since Olivia's life-changing performance. The Galactic Cultural Center had been transformed into the headquarters for the Interspecies Musical Research Initiative. The once quiet halls now buzzed with activity as beings from across the galaxy came to study and collaborate. Olivia stood in her new office looking out at the Earth skyline. Her simple blue dress had been replaced by a tailored uniform that marked her position as Earth's musical ambassador. Sometimes she still couldn't believe how much had changed. "Ambassador Bennett, they're ready for you in the main hall," said her assistant, a young man named Greg who had once worked in the mailroom. Olivia nodded. "Thank you. I'll be right there." Today marked the debut performance of the first truly interspecies orchestra. 32 musicians from 32 different worlds had spent months working together, learning to blend their vastly different approaches to music. At the center of it all was Olivia and her revolutionary theories. She walked through the corridors, passing rooms where humans and aliens worked side by side. In one, a group of scientists analyzed the mathematical properties of various musical forms. In another, engineers were developing new instruments that could produce sounds in multiple dimensions. Master Zixvorn emerged from one of the labs, his blue skin now permanently tinged with gold, a sign of continuous intellectual stimulation among Arcturians. "Are you prepared for today's performance?" he asked, falling into step beside her. "As ready as I'll ever be," Olivia replied with a small smile. The Arcturian's antennae twitched. "You humans always say that before doing something remarkable." Their relationship had evolved over the months. At first, Master Zixvorn had approached her as a curiosity, a primitive being who had somehow stumbled upon advanced concepts. Now he treated her as a colleague and, dare she think it, a friend. "The Federation Council members have arrived," he informed her. "All 143 species are represented." Olivia's steps faltered slightly. "I didn't realize there would be so many important guests." "Your work has caught the attention of the entire galaxy, Olivia Bennett. The implications extend far beyond music. You have demonstrated that humans possess cognitive abilities previously thought unique to older species." They reached the backstage area of the main performance hall. The space had been redesigned to accommodate musicians of all shapes, sizes, and biological requirements. Some needed water tanks, others anti-gravity fields, and a few required special atmospheric chambers. Dr. Wright rushed over as soon as she spotted Olivia. "There you are. The hall is completely full. We've had to set up overflow rooms with holographic projections." "Is Frank here?" Olivia asked, scanning the crowded backstage area. "Front row, as promised," Dr. Wright assured her. "Along with your whole former maintenance team." Olivia relaxed slightly. Despite her new status, she had made sure to stay connected to her old friends. Frank had been her most enthusiastic supporter, telling anyone who would listen that he knew her when. A soft chime indicated it was time to begin. The musicians took their positions on the stage, creating a living tableau of galactic diversity. The Valaxian lights pulsed gently near the ceiling. The Medusan floated in its water tank to the right. The Recital quartet sat with their multi-jointed fingers poised over liquid metal interfaces. And in the center, a modified grand piano waited for Olivia. She took a deep breath and walked onto the stage. The audience fell silent. In the front row, she could see Frank giving her a thumbs up. Beside him sat the Global Minister of Cultural Affairs and representatives from Earth's government. Olivia took her place at the piano. The instrument had been enhanced with new technology that allowed it to suggest higher dimensional sounds while remaining playable by human hands. It was a perfect symbol of the bridge she had created between human emotion and alien mathematical precision. She nodded to Master Zixvorn, who had taken the position of co-conductor. With a wave of his four-fingered hand, the performance began. The music that filled the hall was unlike anything ever heard on Earth or any other world. It began with Olivia's original first contact melody, but then expanded as each species added their unique voice. The harmony shifted through dimensions, sometimes existing as pure mathematics, sometimes as raw emotion, but always connected. As Olivia played, she thought back to her life before, the quiet janitor who cleaned floors, while others performed. How strange that her years of solitude had prepared her for this moment. By playing alone for so long, she had been free to explore ideas that trained musicians might have rejected as impossible. The piece reached its climax, all 32 species playing in perfect harmony, despite their vast biological and cultural differences. When the final notes faded, there was a moment of complete silence. Then the hall erupted in a cacophony of appreciation, human applause mixed with alien clicks, whistles, light pulses, and sounds beyond human hearing. The Federation High Chancellor, a tall being from a world called Centauri Prime, rose from the front row. The universal translator conveyed the Chancellor's words to the entire audience. What we have witnessed today represents more than a musical achievement. It demonstrates that despite our different biologies, histories, and evolutionary paths, we can find common ground. If we can harmonize in music, perhaps we can harmonize in all things. The applause grew louder. Olivia and Master Zixvorn bowed together, human and Arcturian side by side. As the audience began to file out, Frank made his way backstage. He found Olivia sitting quietly at her piano, running her fingers over the keys. "That was amazing," he said, sitting beside her on the bench. "Hard to believe this all started with you playing when you thought no one was listening." Olivia smiled. "Sometimes I miss those days. Just me and the music, no pressure." "Do you regret any of this?" Frank asked, gesturing to the transformed cultural center around them. She thought for a moment. "No, music isn't meant to stay hidden. It needs to be shared." She played a few notes. "My grandmother always said that." The Earth ambassador approached them, nodding respectfully to Olivia. "The Arcturian High Chancellor has a question for you, Ambassador Bennett." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "What kind of question?" The Chancellor asked. "Not bad for rhythm-deaf primates, wouldn't you say?" Frank looked confused, but Olivia laughed. She remembered the insult from the first day of the concert, when humans had been dismissed as musically primitive. "What did you tell him?" she asked. The ambassador smiled. "I said that perhaps it's time to update the Federation's assessment of human capabilities." "And what did he say to that?" His mandibles clicked in what we now know as their expression of respectful agreement. After the ambassador walked away, Frank shook his head in wonder. 6 months ago, you were pushing a mop. Now you've got the leaders of the galaxy changing their minds about the entire human race. Olivia looked out at the hall, now empty except for a few staff members. "It's not about me, Frank. It's about what happens when we stop hiding our gifts and find the courage to share them." As they sat together at the piano, Olivia began to play a new melody, the beginning of her next composition. This one wouldn't be played in an empty room. This one, like all her music from now on, would be heard across the stars, and somewhere in the vastness of space, beings she had never met would listen and understand.